Hello, everyone. Today, we're going to talk about something fundamental, something that affects your brain, your body, your mood, and even your lifespan. That something is sleep. And chances are you're not doing it as well as you could be. Now, I'm not talking about whether you think you slept enough. I'm talking about whether your sleep architecture, your sleep depth, your circadian alignment, and your recovery processes is truly optimized. Let's start with this. Most people think sleep is a passive process. You shut down, you rest, you wake up. But that's incorrect. Sleep is highly active. It's when your brain prunes unnecessary synaptic connections, consolidates memories, repairs tissue, balances hormones, and detoxifies itself, literally flushing out metabolic waste via the glymphatic system. Yes, your brain cleans itself, but only if your sleep is right. Getting morning sunlight within 30 to 60 minutes of waking is one of the most powerful and scientifically validated tools for setting your circadian rhythm. The circadian rhythm is your internal biological clock, regulated by a small structure in the brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, SCN, located in the hypothalamus. This clock governs nearly every process in your body, including hormone release, alertness levels, digestion, and of course, the sleep-wake cycle. One of the strongest inputs to the SCN is light, particularly natural light, and not just any light, specifically the full spectrum light provided by the sun, especially in the early part of the day. When you wake up in the morning and expose your eyes to sunlight, especially sunlight that comes from low on the horizon, it sends a strong signal to your brain that it's daytime. This activates neurons in the retina that contain a pigment called melanopsin. These melanopsin and tannin cells are directly connected to the SCN. When these cells are activated by light, especially blue and yellow wavelengths present in early morning sunlight, they initiate a cascade of neurochemical events that promote wakefulness. One of the most important of these is the suppression of melatonin, the hormone responsible for sleepiness. Melatonin levels should naturally drop in the morning, and this drop is strongly influenced by light exposure. If you're not getting sunlight in the morning, melatonin clearance is delayed, making you feel groggy and out of sync throughout the day. In addition to reducing melatonin, morning sunlight also boosts cortisol levels in a healthy, time-appropriate way. Cortisol is a hormone often associated with stress, but in this context, it's essential for healthy energy levels and alertness. A sharp rise in cortisol early in the day helps you feel more awake and focused and sets the stage for proper timing of other hormonal and neurological systems throughout the day. Without this spike, your energy curve can become blunted, leading to midday crashes, poor focus, and eventually a harder time falling asleep at night. Importantly, the strength of the light cue matters. Indoor lighting typically provides about 100 and 500 lux of brightness, whereas early morning sunlight can provide anywhere from 10,000 to over 100,000 lux, depending on cloud cover and geographic location. This dramatic difference means that even on a cloudy day, being outside is orders of magnitude more effective than staying indoors. Windows filter out much of the beneficial spectrum, so sitting by a window is not an adequate substitute. Direct outdoor exposure is key. Even 5 to 10 minutes on a clear day or 15 to 30 minutes on a cloudy day is enough to trigger the desired biological effects. This light exposure also initiates a kind of countdown timer in your brain. About 14 to 16 hours after that light hits your eyes, your body will begin to release melatonin again, assuming the rest of your routine supports it. This timing mechanism is why morning light doesn't just improve how you feel during the day, it directly influences when you start to feel sleepy at night and the quality of your sleep once you're there. Avoiding bright artificial light 2 to 3 hours before bed is critical for maintaining a healthy sleep-wake cycle, especially in the modern world where artificial lighting is nearly unavoidable. The reason this matters lies in how your brain and body respond to light, particularly in the blue spectrum. Just as natural sunlight in the morning helps signal to your body that it's time to be awake and alert, exposure to bright or blue enriched light in the evening can confuse your internal clock and delay the natural onset of sleep processes. Your circadian rhythm is incredibly sensitive to light cues, and exposure to artificial light at the wrong time can disrupt the delicate timing of hormone release and neural activity. When you are exposed to bright light, especially from overhead LED lights, screens, or daylight balanced bulbs, your brain perceives it as daytime. This is particularly true when the light enters through the eyes and stimulates the melanopsin containing retinal ganglion cells, the same cells responsible for signaling the circadian system. These cells are highly sensitive to blue wavelengths, which are dominant in most LED and screen-based lighting. This stimulation delays the release of melatonin, the hormone responsible for making you feel sleepy. Normally, melatonin begins to rise in the evening as darkness falls, preparing your body for sleep. But artificial light exposure suppresses this rise, effectively pushing your biological night later and reducing overall sleep quality. This delay in melatonin doesn't just make it harder to fall asleep, it can reduce the amount of deep sleep you get, fragment your sleep architecture, and shift your circadian rhythm, making it harder to wake up at a consistent time the next day. Over time, this creates a state of social jet lag, where your internal clock is misaligned with your daily responsibilities. This misalignment has been associated with poorer cognitive performance, mood instability, metabolic disturbances, and even increased risk for chronic disease. It's not just about how many hours you sleep, but when you sleep relative to your natural biological rhythms. The intensity and angle of the light also matter. Overhead lighting tends to be more disruptive than lamps placed at eye level or lower. This is because the melanopsin cells are more sensitive to light coming from above, which mimics the position of the sun in the sky. Therefore, reducing overhead lighting and using dim, warm tone lamps in the evening can dramatically reduce the negative effects. Even better, using red or amber light, which contains very little blue light, has been shown to have minimal impact on melatonin production. In addition to changing the type of light, reducing screen time is equally important. Phones, tablets, and computer screens emit large amounts of blue light and are typically used at close distances, increasing retinal stimulation. If screens must be used in the evening, applying blue light filters or wearing blue blocking glasses can help reduce the negative effects, though they don't fully eliminate them. Ideally, screen use should taper off, and lighting should be intentionally dimmed as you approach your target sleep window. Cutting caffeine intake at least 8 to 10 hours before sleep is one of the most overlooked yet powerful strategies for improving sleep quality. Caffeine is a psychoactive stimulant that primarily works by blocking adenosine receptors in the brain. Adenosine is a neurochemical that accumulates throughout the day and promotes sleep pressure, the internal sense of tiredness that builds the longer you're awake. When caffeine is consumed, it effectively masks this signal, keeping you feeling more alert and less tired. While this can be useful earlier in the day for enhancing focus and performance, it becomes counterproductive when consumed too late in the day, as it disrupts the natural buildup of sleep pressure and delays sleep onset. The half-life of caffeine in the human body is typically around 5 to 6 hours, but this can vary based on genetics, liver metabolism, age, and even hormonal status. What this means is that if you consume a cup of coffee at 3:00 p.m., about half of that caffeine may still be active in your system at 8:00 or 9:00 p.m., and a smaller but still significant amount can remain even later. This lingering stimulation affects not only how easily you fall asleep, but also how deeply you sleep. Studies using sleep EEG measurements show that caffeine, even when taken in the afternoon, can reduce slow wave sleep, the deep restorative phase of sleep, crucial for memory consolidation, immune function, and physical recovery. Even people who claim they can drink coffee and still fall asleep are not immune to its hidden effects. While they may appear to sleep without difficulty, the quality of that sleep is often impaired. They experience more fragmented sleep architecture, fewer minutes in deep and REM sleep, and a reduced ability to reach the lower thresholds of brainwave activity associated with full recovery. Over time, this leads to cumulative sleep debt, which impairs cognitive performance, emotional regulation, and physical health. Chronic caffeine-induced sleep disruption may also affect insulin sensitivity, increase anxiety, and contribute to feelings of burnout or fatigue. It's also worth noting that caffeine is not limited to coffee. Many people underestimate their total caffeine intake because it's present in tea, chocolate, energy drinks, and even some pain relievers. Even moderate consumption of these sources in the late afternoon can interfere with the body's ability to wind down naturally. To maintain high-quality sleep, it's recommended that the last dose of caffeine, whether in coffee, tea, or other products, be consumed no later than 8 to 10 hours before your intended bedtime. For someone aiming to sleep at 10:00 p.m., this means stopping caffeine intake by around 12:00 to 2:00 p.m. People with slower caffeine metabolism may need to stop even earlier. There are genetic polymorphisms, particularly in the CYP1A2 gene, that determine how quickly or slowly caffeine is broken down in the liver. Those with the slow metabolizing variant may feel the effects of caffeine for much longer and experience greater sleep disruption with even modest late-day intake. Keeping a consistent sleep and wake schedule, even on weekends, is one of the most effective ways to strengthen your circadian rhythm and improve the quality of your sleep. The human body operates on a roughly 24-hour internal clock governed by the suprachiasmatic nucleus in the brain, which regulates various physiological processes including hormone release, body temperature, metabolism, and the sleep-wake cycle. This internal clock thrives on regularity. When you go to bed and wake up at the same time each day, your brain and body begin to anticipate these patterns, making it easier to fall asleep, stay asleep, and wake up feeling refreshed. Regular sleep patterns, such as staying up late and sleeping in on weekends, disrupt this internal rhythm and create what is known as social jet lag. This term describes the mismatch between your biological clock and your socially driven sleep schedule. Just like traveling across time zones, shifting your sleep schedule by even 1 or 2 hours on weekends can confuse your circadian system and cause a variety of downstream effects. You may find it harder to fall asleep on Sunday night, experience grogginess on Monday morning, or suffer from reduced alertness and cognitive performance during the week. These effects are not just anecdotal. Studies have shown that social jet lag is associated with increased risk for obesity, depression, cardiovascular disease, and metabolic disorders. A consistent sleep schedule helps synchronize all the body's internal clocks, not just the one in your brain. Every organ has its own circadian rhythm, and when you maintain regular sleep and wake times, these clocks align more effectively, improving overall physiological function. Your digestive system, for example, anticipates when you'll eat. Your muscles anticipate when you'll be active. Your liver prepares for detoxification at night. Disrupting your sleep schedule disrupts these coordinated rhythms, which can impair everything from energy metabolism to immune function. Consistency also improves sleep quality by reinforcing the timing of melatonin release. Melatonin is the hormone that signals to your body that it's time to sleep, and its release is tied closely to your circadian rhythm. When you keep irregular hours, your melatonin secretion can become mistimed, leading to difficulties initiating sleep or waking up too early. On the other hand, a stable schedule allows for a reliable melatonin curve, which supports deeper and more restorative sleep. Waking up at the same time each day is particularly important because it anchors your circadian rhythm. Even if you had a poor night of sleep, sleeping in to compensate can actually make things worse by delaying your internal clock and making it harder to fall asleep the following night. Over time, this irregularity can accumulate and lead to chronic sleep problems. Maintaining a consistent wake time, even after a short night of sleep, helps preserve circadian alignment and encourages better sleep the following night. Behavioral consistency also helps with habit formation. When your sleep schedule is stable, your body begins to associate certain times with winding down and preparing for rest. This automaticity reduces the mental effort required to fall asleep, helping to build a stronger, more reliable sleep routine. Using a wind-down routine to trigger melatonin release is a practical and scientifically supported strategy to help the body transition smoothly from wakefulness to sleep. Melatonin is a hormone produced by the pineal gland in response to darkness, and it plays a central role in signaling to the body that it's time to prepare for sleep. However, melatonin doesn't act like a sedative that forces sleep instantly. Rather, it functions more like a darkness signal that tells your body it's nighttime, allowing sleep processes to begin. To optimize melatonin production and create the right internal environment for sleep, the brain needs a clear and consistent cue that the waking day is coming to an end. That's where a wind down routine becomes essential. A wind down routine is a predictable sequence of calming activities you perform before bed to signal to your brain that it's time to slow down. When practiced consistently, this routine acts as a form of behavioral conditioning, associating specific activities with the physiological shift into sleep mode. By reducing stimulation and lowering arousal, both mentally and physically, your wind down routine helps the brain disengage from the demands of the day, allowing melatonin to rise naturally in the evening. One of the key components of an effective wind down routine is eliminating exposure to bright and blue-enriched light, as artificial light strongly suppresses melatonin secretion. Dimming the lights and avoiding screens for 60 to 90 minutes before bed can significantly improve the body's ability to initiate melatonin release. In addition to reducing light exposure, other behaviors can enhance melatonin production and promote a relaxed state. Gentle activities like reading a physical book, taking a warm bath, stretching, journaling, or practicing deep breathing or meditation can activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which counteracts the stress sympathetic system and helps lower heart rate and cortisol levels. This shift into a parasympathetic state not only enhances feelings of calmness, but also supports the internal environment needed for melatonin to do its job effectively. Temperature regulation is another important factor. A warm bath or shower about 60 to 90 minutes before bed can actually help the body cool down, as it causes blood to flow to the surface of the skin, which promotes heat loss afterward. This drop in core body temperature mimics the natural cooling that happens as the body prepares for sleep, and it further supports the release of melatonin and the ability to fall asleep quickly. Pairing this with quiet, non-stimulating activities reinforces the wind down signal. The key to an effective wind down routine is consistency. When performed nightly, the brain begins to associate these specific actions with sleep, and over time, this strengthens the body's circadian signals. The predictability of the routine reduces cognitive and emotional arousal that might otherwise interfere with sleep, such as rumination or stress about the next day. Even 20 to 30 minutes of a consistent routine can significantly improve sleep latency and overall sleep efficiency by allowing the brain and body to transition gradually and smoothly into a sleep-ready state. Sleeping in a cool, dark, and quiet environment is essential for optimizing both the quality and efficiency of your sleep. Environmental factors play a significant role in sleep onset, depth, and duration, and many of the body's natural sleep mechanisms are highly sensitive to changes in temperature, light, and sound. Among these, temperature regulation is one of the most crucial. As part of the body's circadian rhythm, core body temperature naturally drops in the evening, reaching its lowest point in the early morning hours. This cooling of the body helps facilitate the onset of sleep, especially the transition into deep, slow-wave sleep. If your sleeping environment is too warm, it can interfere with this thermoregulatory process, leading to restlessness, frequent awakenings, and reduced sleep quality. Studies show that the optimal room temperature for sleep is generally between 60 to 67 degrees Fahrenheit, around 16 to 19 degrees Celsius, though individual preferences may vary slightly. Light exposure during sleep also plays a powerful role in determining sleep quality. Even small amounts of ambient light can suppress melatonin production, fragment sleep cycles, and delay the onset of deep and REM sleep. This is particularly true for short wavelength blue light, but even dim light from a digital clock or a street lamp through the window can interfere with your brain's ability to fully settle into sleep. To optimize darkness, blackout curtains, sleep masks, and turning off or covering light sources in the room are highly recommended. The goal is to mimic the natural darkness of nighttime, which signals to the brain that it's time to fully engage the sleep process. Sound is another environmental variable that affects sleep more than many people realize. While some people may believe they can sleep through noise, research shows that unexpected or variable sounds like traffic, loud neighbors, or even electronic notifications can cause micro awakenings that disrupt the continuity of sleep, even if you're not fully aware of them. These disturbances interfere with the body's ability to cycle naturally through different sleep stages, leading to feelings of grogginess and poor restoration the next day. A quiet sleep environment minimizes these interruptions, in some cases, improve oxygen intake and reduce respiratory disruptions. The brain continuously monitors external conditions even during sleep, and uncomfortable or suboptimal settings can increase the likelihood of waking or spending more time in lighter sleep stages. Optimizing these environmental conditions creates a physical space that aligns with your body's natural sleep biology, allowing the brain and nervous system to enter a deeper and more restorative state.